Yo, what's going on, man? Hopefully you guys can hear me. Y'all let me know in the comment section if y'all can hear me. I think my mic might be tripping. Let me just double check real quick. No, it's connected. Okay. You guys should be able to hear me. What up to my guy DJ? I see you in the chat, man. Real quick, we got another late night show, man. The last one, I did a late night show last night and it did pretty good, man. So I'm here to do another one. Break these games down, get up out of here. It's a lot of games tomorrow. I think it's like 9-10 games. Took me a while to kind of handicap these games and figure out the spots that I wanted. But as always, I ask that you guys smash the like button for me if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and definitely turn the notification bell on so you do know when I go live, because sometimes it's around this time. And I do have an announcement that I want to make real quick, just for the upcoming week. And I'll make this announcement now, and then I'll also make it again as well at the end of the video if I remember. This coming week, I will not be doing a show at 5 p.m. Eastern. There will be no ChrisBeCappinn NBA show at 5 p.m. Eastern. I just got some things that I got going on that's going to take me away from being able to host a show at that time. I'll try to do these night shows so that I, can still create the content, still get the plays out to you guys, kind of give you guys my analysis of the game. But I will not be doing the show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, potentially Friday. But I know I'm not doing a show Monday through Thursday this week. So plays I still have the plays. I'll still be capping the games. The members will get them. If you guys are interested in joining, there is a membership link in the YouTube comment section of this video. All my plays are, you can get all my plays for $5.99 a month if you use that membership. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. There's a bunch of games on the board for tomorrow, but like I said, wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And for today, just a quick recap. I only gave out one play. I took one thing. All the games came on at 8:30. I didn't want to have to skip, try to go back and forth between all those games. So we jumped on Brooklyn early, +2. Took them on I didn't take them +2. I took them on the money line. Put it in a write-up, but they couldn't beat that version of Philly. I'm not sure what they were going to be able to do, and we cashed there. So 1-0 day, and definitely looking to build on that. The weekends can be crazy, which is why I typically go super light on the weekends. And we got a lot of home dogs tomorrow on tomorrow's slate. So let's jump right into it for tomorrow. So first game up, we got Magic and we got Pistons. This game will be played in Detroit. Total. So I think it opened at 7. And you see money actually coming in on Detroit in this spot. The line is down to 6.5 at some places, but it did open at 7. The total also coming down. It opened, when I saw it was 227. Now you see it down to 225.5. Injury wise, nothing really to note on the Orlando Magic side of things. In Detroit, Isaiah Stewart and Mike Muscala do both remain out. They haven't played the last couple games, I think. So for Orlando, 26-23 so far straight up this season, 11-16 straight up on the road this season. But against the spread, this team is really good, and we saw that on Friday, man. They're 17-10 straight up, 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games. They're coming off that big win against the Timberwolves on Friday as an 8-point dog, win that game outright. If you watch the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show on Friday, I talked about taking it. I just didn't want to add too many plays, but I knew Orlando was the right side. I talked about it. They just, that's their role as a road dog. Now, as a favorite, they typically do well also. They've covered 4 straight games in a row. Looking at Detroit, this team is not great on the season, but we know that they've been playing a little bit better basketball. They're 4-22 on the season, 13-13, so about 50% against the spread at home. They are the hottest team in the association as far as ATS. They're 9-1 against the spread, which makes sense why the money's coming in on them in this spot. So situationally, looking at Orlando, they're playing a 4th straight road game of a 5-game road trip, and they come into this game with 1 day's rest. This season, on 1 day's rest, they're 20-7 straight up with they are plus 5.8 in point differential. They rank 23rd offensively, and they're the second best defensive rated team in that time frame as well, playing on 1 day's rest as well. They're 9-4 straight up and 11-2 if they're playing on the road this season with 1 day's rest. So this is Orlando team. They got Paolo back. Well, they already had Paolo, but they got Franz back. They're getting a little bit healthier. We saw them, kind of go on a nasty long road trip on the West Coast, and they had some injuries. Now they're playing, kind of forming back into shape, which, they kind of overachieved at the beginning of the season, but we're seeing them kind of pick it back up recently. On this other side, for Detroit, this will be their second straight home game. They also have 1 day's rest, and they don't play again until Wednesday. Detroit, this season playing on 1 day's rest, this team is just 3-24 straight up playing on 1 day's rest. 28th offensively, 29th defensively. As road favorites so far this season, it was one thing I wanted to look at because Orlando typically is not laying points too many times on the road, but they are 4-1 straight up and against the spread. The only time that they didn't cover was 2 Fridays ago when we took them against. I know I was on them against Memphis, and they were laying 5 and lost that game outright by I think a point or two. So they're also 6-3 straight up, 8-1 against the spread in road games versus teams that have a 40% win percentage or less. So it's a lot of conflicting trends in this one, man. I do think that Detroit can win. I do think that they can cover the spread as well. But I don't know if I want to lay points with them. To me, I watched Detroit. I watched the Detroit team, cover and win outright against the Oklahoma City Thunder on last Sunday. So I can't get there laying the points with Detroit on the road. I'm sorry, laying the points with the Pistons on the road. But I feel like I got to kind of let this one marinate. I probably won't play this game. It's also an early start time. We know that the early start times for games can typically go, they get a little crazy. In Detroit, also, I think it's important to mention this. When you're playing in these games that are at a different start time or early start time, I think this game is going to be played 3:00 Eastern time. When you're playing in those type of games, it throws your whole routine off, right? If you're used to, your shoot around being at a certain time, your pregame meal being at a certain time, getting stretched, getting treatment at a certain time, it throws all that off. Now, who has the advantage in this spot? To me, it's the Detroit Pistons, because Detroit just played back-to-back games last week where on Saturday and Sunday they played against the Wizards the first time, and then the second time they beat OKC. So they were more prepared than OKC were, because this is like a part of their routine now. This is to be their third weekend game out of 4 weekend days where they have had the opportunity to just be kind of be in a little bit of a flow. Head to head, Orlando did beat Detroit 123-91 back on December 8th. Orlando was laying 10.5 points in that game at home. And they did cover that spread. They covered it pretty easily. They suffocated this Detroit team, only gave up 121 points. That total also went under the 229.5. And now you see this game, it went under by 15 points. And now you see this game open up even lower, even though Detroit and the money coming in on the under. Detroit is, offensively, they've been able to score the ball. We see them put up 125 points against the Clippers team that was, they were out there, they scored even against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They went over their team total. This team is scoring points. It's just defensively, they're not able to get stops at all. Like they haven't put it together on the defensive end. But Bogdanovich, Jaden Ivey, you got Cade Cunningham back, Jalen Duren's turning into a monster. You got guys coming off the bench like Sasser, making plays, Alex Burke. So this team is, they're balling right now. I think if I had to play the game, I would probably just look towards. I don't think that Detroit is going to be able to slow Orlando down. I would look towards Orlando to be able to score. And I know that's not their best suit. They're much more of a defensive team, but to me, it kind of makes sense that if I'm playing the game, I'm taking Orlando. Probably team total over is the way I would look in this one. Next game up, not trying to spend too many times on all these games. We got the Suns. They will be in DC taking on the Washington Wizards. Now for Phoenix, I didn't see anybody on the injury report. Maybe I need to double check that, but I feel like they should have a full squad. For the Washington side, and I do got to play in this game. For the Washington side, Kyle Kuzma's already been listed out. He got some kind of shoulder injury. Marvin Bagley, who missed the game on Friday against the Miami Heat, also going to be out. And then you got Kumbuwale, their rookie, Bilal Kumbuwale, and Tyus Jones? Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones, brother Trey Jones playing San Antonio. Tyus Jones also, both of those guys listed as questionable. So that's two of your Bagley wasn't really starting. He was coming off the bench for Daniel Gafford, but that's a key rotational piece. The big news in this game, of course, is Bradley Beal will be back in DC. Kevin Durant, not as big of a headline, but he is from DC as well. So his mama probably going to be there. He probably going to have a bunch of people there. But for Phoenix, not the greatest spot, man. This team, they are 27-21 on the season, 14-10 on the road. However, they got smoked on Friday in the spot where I backed them in Atlanta. And now they're 11-12-1 against the spread on the road, just 4-5-1 against the spread in their last 10 games. So they haven't been covering these super big numbers. Washington, we know that they're not a good basketball team. They're 3-20 at home, just 7-26 against the spread at home as well. And they're 4-6 in their last 10 games overall also. For Phoenix, it's not the greatest spot, man. This is game number 7 in a row on the road. I mean, I think that's the longest road streak that you could have. I looked in the Killer Sports database. There's not too many streaks you can have longer than 7 games. A 7-game road trip. I do think that Phoenix is going to be motivated in this spot coming off that loss. Listening to the quotes from Coach Frank Vogel, he said that he didn't like their defensive intensity from the get-go. They gave up 129 points to Atlanta on Friday. They did lose. Of course, they lost that game in Atlanta on Friday. Never really showed up defensively. They planned on 1 day's rest in this spot, and on 1 day's rest so far this season, Phoenix is 15-13 straight up with a plus 3.1 differential. They rank 6th offensively and then the 19th best defensive team. Now, of course, that's over the whole span of the season, and this is one of the most injury-prone teams. For the Washington Wizards, 3rd straight home game of a 4-game homestand. They're playing off 1 day's rest, and they've been really, really bad off 1 day's rest. They're 6-22 on the season. They're a minus 7.2 point differential, and they're 25th offensive rated team and the 24th defensive rated team. The Wizards are also just 4-9 against the spread and just 2-11 straight up playing on 1 day's rest at home. They failed to cover their last 4 spreads in that spot and allowed 125 points per game. Now, head-to-head, Phoenix already did beat Washington 112-108 in Phoenix back on December the 17th. They were laying 12 points in that game and did not cover. They barely won. They beat them by 4. So the numbers are going to be inflated for Phoenix. We see this a lot of the times with some of these big star type teams, right? OKC comes to mind. Denver's another team that's always laying points, and they win the game straight up, but they're not covering spreads. Same thing with Boston. Right. So I can't back Washington in this spot, but I also can't lay 12 with Phoenix. Phoenix minus 12 on the 7th game of the last game of a 7-game road trip just doesn't feel right. But I think I still would kind of look that way. I can't trust this Washington team right now. I watched them. Their offense is just really, really poor. They haven't been able to really score the ball, and now you're taking Tyus Jones out. Potentially, he's listed as questionable, and you're not going to have Kyle Kuzma. To me, that's a little bit too much, man. So the total for the last game was 246.5, and that game went under by 26.5 points. This one opened up 6 point lower. I do expect the total to keep dropping. I gave this one out already. I'll share with you guys as well. Just looking at a quick quote from Frank Vogel, he said, "Our disposition wasn't great to start the game. We didn't have the same energy, focus, and awareness that we had in the last 2 games." So I think, going back and kind of looking at the trends, I do think that Phoenix comes out here, even if I don't see a reason why they're not going to be able to score the ball. But Bradley Beal is playing through that broken nose. He did get hit in the face. I think it was Onyeka Okongwu who hit him in the face. He had to take it off and was bad. Like, he almost ran out of time to shoot the free throws to stay in that game. He did not shoot the ball well. He shot 0 for 7 from the 3-point line. So I do think there's an adjustment period. I do think that Phoenix's offense I'm not saying it's going to struggle, but I think Washington offense is going to continue to struggle. Washington has not been able to score the ball, and Phoenix keeps getting these inflated totals because their offense is so good and because Washington defense is so bad. However, and this is why I played Washington team total to go under, and also why I played the full game to go under. Phoenix is 8-2 to the under in their last 10 games. Like I said, they're scoring points, but the numbers are highly inflated. They're also in 8 games. Their games have actually gone under because the totals have been so inflated. Like I'm saying, Phoenix is also on the last game of the 7-game road trip, a spot where teams typically run out of gas. You look at this Washington team on the other side, they're 8-2 to the under in their last 10 games, including 7 straight unders. We just cashed on them taking the under against the Miami Heat on Friday. Their offense has generated just 102 points and 109 points in their last 2 games. And like I said, now you got Kuzma, who's out already, and Tyus Jones, who listed as questionable. I'm not sure where the offense is going to come from. I know Jordan Poole had a 10-assist game, but I'm not looking for him being able to continue to do that. So yeah, I like Washington team total under. I think 115.5 is a tad bit too many points. And I did take the full game under 240. I think I gave it a 241, I think is what it was on Caesar. So those are 2 official plays for me, I may put a little sprinkle on Phoenix first quarter team total over or first quarter spread, just because Washington is really, really bad. And I want to back Phoenix early in a game where they feel like they probably gonna come out with something after, just not showing up against Atlanta. So off a loss, especially not having Marvin Bagley in the second unit, I feel like Phoenix should be able to get all the rebounds. Phoenix is actually a +7 in the first quarter, coming off a loss in the month of January as well. They win in the first quarter 34-27 off the games that they've actually lost. Looking at this Washington team, they're just 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 first quarters as well, at home specifically. So Washington, for whatever reason, cannot put it together at home. It's crazy because most bad teams play a little bit better at home when they got their home crowd. Washington does not play good at home for whatever reason. So that's what I got for you guys there. Keep it moving. We're going over to Charlotte now. The Pacers will be in town. This line opened at 9. I think it's up to 9.5 now. So you got a 9.5 point home dog. I tell you, it's a lot of dogs, a lot of home dogs as well. This total, it was 243. Money coming in on the under in this spot. And I mean, how could I not agree? I know the Pacers run extremely fast up and down the floor, but if you're Charlotte, who's scoring the ball? Like they've really been struggling to score the ball. LaMelo Ball has already been rolled out, for people who don't know, on the opposite side. And the one reason I couldn't play the game is because Indy got all it. I mean, four guys that I need to know the status of. Tyrese Halliburton is on the injury report, is questionable. Ben Mathurin is also questionable. Miles Turner and Jalen Smith all listed as questionable for this game. Indiana on the season, 27-24 straight up, 11-14 straight up on the road. They're not even a profitable team straight up on the road, but they are 10-12-1 against the spread on the road. And that's typically because they're catching points and not laying points. 4-4-2 against the spread in their last 10 games. This Charlotte team has been bad. 5-18 straight up at home, 8-15 against the spread at home. They've covered just 2 of their last 10 games. Situationally, the Pacers not in the greatest spot. They're playing the 4th game in 6 nights, third game in 4 nights as well. They've lost 3 straight, playing on 1 day's rest here. And on 1 day's rest, they are plus 4.1 in point differential. They're 19-11 straight up, playing on 1 day's rest. They do have the number 1 rated offense in that spot, but the 23rd rated defense. Looking at Charlotte, back home off the 1-game road trip where they went to OKC and got absolutely blasted. I mean, they were down 20 points and it never really even got close. I think they ended up losing the game by 20, but the margin did get better. It did get stronger. This Charlotte team is bad, man. They've actually lost 6 games in a row and failed to cover all their spreads. This will be the first game of a back-to-back. They do got the Lakers on deck on Monday. Charlotte is now 0-7 straight up and against the spread since they traded Terry Rozier. They're losing those games by an average of 17 points, with an average line being +9. They're only averaging 105 points per game in that span, and they're giving up 121 points per game in that span. Playing on 1 day's rest this season, Charlotte has been bad. They're 7-19 straight up, playing on 1 day's rest, with a -12.6 point differential. They also rank 26th in offensive rating and 30th in defensive rating. So that tells me the Pacers should be able to get whatever it is that they want. I'm just not sure who's going to be out there playing for them. Head-to-head, this will be the 3rd matchup of the season. Charlotte did steal the first game back in Indy in November. Indy got their revenge in December. They beat the brakes off Charlotte 144-113 when they were laying 10.5. And now you see a really strong line for them opening on the road. Total, like I said, I do lean under. I haven't played this one yet. I probably should have jumped in because it's already going down. Not sure what it's going to close at. But Charlotte's just struggling to score, man. Indy, pretty good matchup so far. I think they get a pretty easy matchup as far as because not like Indy play a lot of defense, but I mean, this is one of the worst offenses in the league. It kind of correlates. I talked about Golden State defense not being good, but how Memphis could go under their team total last night. And that did, I didn't play it, but that did kind of cash because it makes sense. You got a real poor offense versus, a team that should be able to score the ball. So I think Charlotte's offense can continue to struggle in this spot. And the total probably does go over, but it's difficult. It's difficult not knowing the status of the 4 players that I talked about for the Indiana Pacers. So no play for me on this game at all. Let's keep moving. We got about 5 more games to get to. Next game up, we got Clippers and Heat. Probably the most interesting game on the board. Another home dog. Like I said, it's a lot of home dogs on Sunday. So for the Clippers, you got Zubac who remains out. I think they're healthy otherwise. And then for Miami, Duncan Robinson remains out. He's missed the last couple games for them. The Clippers, we know that they've been one of the best teams in the league, 32-15 straight up on the season. They're 13-11 on the road. 12-12 against the spread on the road. They didn't cover that last game. I think they failed to cover by half a point because they closed as 12-point favorites. They end up winning that game by 11. Or they might have closed at 11.5. They end up winning the game by 11. I think it was 136 to like 125 against Detroit on Friday. They are 7-3 against the spread in their last 10. They've been hooping. Probably the best team in basketball right now outside of the New York Knicks. As far as like, longevity goes, recent longevity. Miami, this team, I think they're trying to get it back together. They're 26-23 on the season, 13-11 straight up at home. They are just 9-15 against the spread at home. This is not a good home team at all. They're 2-7, 2-7-1 against the spread in their last 10. They are coming off back-to-back wins against the Sacramento Kings at home. They went to DC, got an 8-point win and covered that spread by 1 point on Friday night. For the Clippers, not the greatest spot, playing their sixth straight game on the road in the front end of a back-to-back. They got Atlanta on Monday to end this 7-game road trip for them. They have won 4 of their last 5 games 4 of the 5 games on this road trip. They've covered 2 of them and failed to cover their last one, like I said, by just a half a point. They're playing on 1 day's rest, and so far this season, the Clippers are 18-11 straight up. Playing on 1 day's rest. They're plus 6.3 point differential. And they're the third best offensive rated team, 13th in defensive efficiency as well. So this is a pretty good Clipper team, even on the road, even playing, with 1 day's rest. But I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or not, because I know Atlanta's been balling. Atlanta will have the rest advantage because they played the night, even though that game went to overtime against Golden State. They'll have 1 day's rest, where the Clippers will have to fly from Miami to Atlanta, and they'll be playing on the second leg of a back-to-back. So maybe they run out of gas in that spot. It should be an Atlanta spot, but just when I try to take Atlanta, I know that's probably when they're going to wet the bed. So I probably won't be on them in that game. Looking at the Miami side, like I said, returning home off the 1-game road trip to Washington, they did win and cover, like I said, 2 games in a row. They've actually gone under in 3 straight games as well. They allowed 106 points to the Kings and 102 points to the Washington Wizards. On 1 day's rest so far this season, Miami hasn't been the greatest. They're 16-17 straight up. They're a minus 1 point differential, and they're the 22nd in offensive efficiency and 12th in defensive efficiency this season. Now, head to head, the Clippers and Miami did meet in LA on January 1st. And the Clippers got the best of them, 121-104. They were laying 8 points in that spot. I think it was some injuries for the Clippers, but they are, a little bit healthy, trying to get Terry Rozier kind of acclimated. They've been playing well since they had that players only meeting. I'm not sure what happens in this game. I see the money coming in on the Clippers right now. This line moving from 3.5 to 4, but I don't think I want to get there. I do think the Clippers are a better team, and it makes sense, but Sundays are crazy, man. Sundays are absolutely crazy. I think if I'm playing this game, I want to look at the Clippers team total to go over. I just don't bank on this Miami defense being able to slow down this Clippers offense. That's the way I think I would play it. But it's not a strong look. It's not a strong look at all. The total did go under in the last meeting by 4 points, and this one actually opened lower. So that would say that maybe you look towards the team total under. I'm not sure what to do with this one. I'm really not sure. I kind of lean Clippers team total to go under. Clippers team total to go over, but I could also see the full game going under. If the Clippers really do want to come in there and play the style of defense that they played against the Boston Celtics when they started this road trip, I think they could really shut down this Miami offense. So with it being Sunday, and I don't have a strong play on this game. Just wanted to kind of share notes and give you guys my thoughts. I'll do a little bit more deeper diving, but I'll probably end up staying off of this one. I could see the Clippers winning this game by 2 possessions, but I'm probably not going to get there. Let's move on to a game that I'm also not interested in, but want to give you guys some notes for, and kind of got like a little hunch for this game, but it probably won't make the card. We got the Grizzlies. They'll be in Boston, getting 16 points with a total of 222. That's a lot of points for a very low scoring game. I think that comes out to be like 119 to like 103, I think is what they're projecting the total in this game to be. On the Memphis side, we know that they're always beat up. This team is never. This team, man, I've never seen so many injuries. The whole entire roster, for the most part, is on the injury report. I think they might have Luke Kennard, but John Conchar, Vince Williams Jr., these are guys that typically have been playing. These guys on the injury report. Larivia also, he's listed as questionable. You got those three guys listed as questionable. But the crazy thing about this game specifically is now Jared Jackson Jr. is listed as out. Him, Zaire Williams is out as well. Of course, no Desmond Bane, no Ja Morant. I think they did get Derrick Rose back in that last game against Golden State the other day. But I mean, man, you talk about not being able to catch a break. This is really, really bad. On the Boston side, Jaylen Brown's listed as questionable. And Luke Cornett, who has missed the last couple games, is listed as probable. Look like he's going to be able to make his return. So Memphis, they've been a profitable team. We know, that if you've been, like telling, if you've been just blindly backing Memphis, you made a lot of money until they ran up against the Golden State Warriors in the second leg of that back-to-back on Friday. So this is the third game of 4 nights, but only yesterday, having yesterday off. Memphis, while they are only 18-31 straight up on the season and 13-13 on the road, they are 15-11 against the spread on the road. That's one of the most profitable road teams, and they've covered 7 of their last 10 spreads as well. For Boston, man, Boston is 22-3 at home after that loss to the Lakers, and they're 13-12. They're not really covering these big numbers, not profitably. Just one game over 500 if you blindly, back them to cover these really big numbers at home, because anytime you're playing Boston, you always got to lay at least 8 points. Most of the time it's double digits, and they're only 4-6 against the spread in their last 10 games. Situationally, for Memphis, it'll be the first road game after a 3-game homestand. Memphis is 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 on the road. And Boston, coming off the biggest upset loss of the season, they lost by 9 points to the Lakers when they were laying 15 points at home. This will be their 5th straight home game, and they got 2 more after this against the Atlanta Hawks and the Washington Wizards. From a head-to-head perspective, Boston did beat Memphis, but they struggled. They beat them 102-100. I remember watching that game. It was Santi Aldama who would not let Boston just and they I want to say they had everybody in that game as well. Boston just is one of those flat spots, man. Boston does not play well when they're playing down the competition. They, for whatever reason, we saw what Austin Reeves just did to them. Like I said, it was Santi Aldama in this game that happened in Memphis. They barely won the game. They beat them 102-100. That was back on November the 19th. They were laying 12.5 points in that spot. They had Kristaps Porzingis. I remember watching them play. Jason Tatum was out there as well. It's just one of those super flat spots. And as far as the total goes, the previous total was 222.5, and you see this one open up even lower. That total went under by 22 points. I really do think, while I know I'm saying all this about Boston, I do think that Boston comes out here, takes this game really, really serious, just because of how they got punched in the mouth early against the Lakers. I think Memphis team total under in the first quarter, under in the first half, and under in the full game are the right size in this spot. I do think Boston could win and cover this spread as well. I know 16 is a big number, but I did do some SDQL looking at, these teams in this spot with such a low total and such a high spread. So the last 7 home favorites that were laying 16 points or more with a total of 223 points or less, they are 7-1 straight up and against the spread. I think Boston learned. I think they did take a lesson from their previous loss, losing to the depleted Laker team the other day on Friday. And that's probably an embarrassing taste in your mouth. So I do think that Boston's the right side in this game. Will I be laying 16 with them on a Sunday? Absolutely not. But I do think that I don't think Memphis scores 100 points in this game. I'll tell you guys that. Their team total is 103.5. I see this game being potentially 112 to like 85, or 113 to like 94 or something like that. I don't think that Memphis scores 103 points, not with Jared Jackson Jr. on the floor. This team is already a really bad rebounding team, and I don't see it. Not with Xavier Tillman out there and the guys that they have. And like I said, I do think that Boston brings intensity in this game. So I do think Boston is the right side, but I'll be playing Memphis team total to go under before I touch the spread in this one. Next game up, we got Raptors and we got Thunder. I don't have too many thoughts on this game. Let's see. So Toronto will be in OKC. OKC looks like they're laying about 9.5 points in this game, and the total is coming down. It opened to 234.5. I think it's down to 233.5 now. Jonte Porter is already listed out for Toronto, and RJ Barrett he did get upgraded to questionable. He did miss that game on Friday against the Houston Rockets when they were playing in Houston. But OKC, they were without Isaiah Joe and Jalen Williams on Friday, and both of those guys still remain out. Also, they're not neither one of those guys to play in this game. They didn't really need them against Charlotte. Toronto really didn't show up against Houston. Houston, I think it was a Houston bounce back spot after losing to the Pelicans. They did cover. I gave that out on the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show live if you guys were watching. Toronto on the season, just 17-31 straight up. They're 7-18 straight up on the season, on the road specifically, but they have been covering. They're 13-12 against the spread on the road. However, since they made the trade, they have not done really, really well on the road. Just 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games, 2-8 straight up in their last 10 games, and they've covered just 3 of their last 10 spreads as well. On the OKC side, they're 19-6 straight up at home, 17-8 against the spread at 17-8 against the spread at home. And while they have been while they have been winning, they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're just 5-5 against the spread in their last 10, because now OKC, if you want OKC against the spread, you got to pay a premium, almost like Boston. I mean, every single time, they land 10, they're laying 12, 15. I think they were laying like 16 against Charlotte the other day. And granted, they covered, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get that same consistency and that same effort, especially with them being shorthanded every single game. So situationally for Toronto, it'll be their 4th game of a 6-game road trip in the first leg of a back-to-back. They actually got the Pelicans on Monday. Toronto's 10-19 straight up with a minus 2.2 point differential playing on one day's rest this season. And they're the 21st rated offense and the 20th rated defense. So kind of, bottom 2/3, almost bottom 10 in both of those categories. OKC playing their 4th straight home game before they do travel on Tuesday. They play Utah on Tuesday. OKC is 21-8 playing on one day's rest, and they're a plus 6.8 in point differential. They're 12th in offensive efficiency and 3rd in defensive efficiency. So immediately when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking, okay, I know Toronto has been playing a little bit faster, but that makes me think Toronto team total under. If OKC is going to come out here and play the defense that we know that they can play, that's the way I kind of look at this game. I didn't play anything, and I'm probably not going to play it, but if OKC plays that level of defense that they're capable of, and they are pretty consistent, they don't really turn down too often. I do think it's a under type game, and we already see money coming in on under. This will be the first meeting of the season for these two teams. The last 10 matchups have actually gone 5-5, and we know 5-5 straight up and against the spread. And we know that those were two totally different teams. Siakam and OG Anunoby and all those guys being on that team, and this was a different OKC team as well. They were up and coming, and now they're just coming. Like, this team is definitely coming at you. So I guess I lean under. Don't think I'll get there with the minus 10, and I think RJ Barrett's status is extremely important too, because if you want Toronto as a dog in this spot, you definitely want RJ Barrett in. We see with this offense, it can really, really struggle at times. Just having Quickly out there. With not too many other guys that can score the ball, specifically the way that Toronto likes to shoot a lot of threes. OKC is a top 5 3-point defense in the league. So, guys like, Gary Trent Jr. probably not going to have the greatest day, but we'll see how it goes, man. Not a game, like I said, I'm interested in playing. Just wanted to share notes with you guys. Let's move over here to the next game. We got the Rockets. They will be in Minnesota taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves looking for a little bounce back spot after losing that game outright against the Houston Rockets the other day. Against the Orlando Magic the other day. So let me get to my notes in this one. So we got Tari Eason, who remains out for Houston. Minnesota, big question mark here. Rudy Gobert listed as questionable with an ankle injury. He did play in the game on Friday and had some choice words for his team afterwards as well, especially with them, just turning the ball over as much as they do. Mike Conley also alluded to it. Chris Finch keeps alluding to it. This Rockets, this Timberwolves team does have some maturing to do as far as not being able to take care of the basketball. And it was one of the reasons why they lost that game on Friday. So Houston, we know that they're not the greatest team on the road or just in general. They started off the season hot and they came back down to earth. 23-25 on the season right now. However, on the road, they're 5-16. And they're also just 9-12 against the spread on the road this season. So they're not profitable on the road at all. Minnesota, 34-15 straight up, 18-5 straight up at home, 13-10 against the spread at home. But they are just 4-6 against the spread in their last 10 games. So kind of catching up with them as well. This will be situationally, it'll be the first road game for Houston after the 3-game homestand. They beat the brakes off Toronto, 135-106, covered that 4-point spread or 4.5-point spread, wherever you got that at on Friday. And with 1 day's rest this season, Houston is 4-7 straight up. And they're just a +1 in point differential. They rank 19th offensively, and the defensive efficiency ranks 8th. For the Timberwolves, this will be the 3rd straight home game and the last home game. They actually start a nice little road trip where they go to Chicago on Tuesday. They lost outright against Orlando, like we talked about, as 7-point favorites on Friday. And on 1 day's rest so far, at home specifically, because we know the Timberwolves play better at home, they're 13-5 straight up on the season. They're plus 9.3 in point differential, 23rd rated offense, and the 2nd best defense. So that makes me, but I need Rudy Gobert in. That makes me lean towards the Rockets team total to go under. I know the Rockets offense been looking a little bit better, but I do think they've been playing against some cupcakes as far as on the defensive end. Their offense didn't look good against the Pelicans when the Pelicans came in there, absolutely slowed them all the way down. I think they only scored 99 points in that spot. So I know, guys like Cam Whitmore, he just had a 25-point career high game. Sir Thompson off the bench, he looked really, really good. I think he had a career night as well. And Jalen Green been actually absolutely cashing as well. But I think that the Rockets could really, really struggle to score the ball, especially if Rudy Gobert is in there to kind of slow Sengun down. Now, Sengun was snubbed from the All-Star game, and he absolutely came out there and dominated that game from start to finish. But I don't like the matchup for Jalen Green as much, especially when you got, these really good guards, being able to kind of slow down opposing guards. So I think that the Rockets could really struggle in this spot. I know that the team total is already low. What is it? 218 divided by 2 is 109. Subtract 3.5 is what? 106.5. But this to me, with both of the way that the pace is played between these two teams, with the Timberwolves turning the ball over as much as they did in the last game, I think they protected in this spot. I would look towards the Rockets to go under their team total. This could be a game where they might not get to 100 points. We know that the Timberwolves are the best defensive team at home specifically. I think the Rockets team total under in this one is probably the right side, but I do need the news with Rudy Gobert. You play the team total and you're not even really worried about whether the Timberwolves are going to cover the spread or not. 7 seems a little too steep for my blood. You're asking them to, pretty much win by 4 possessions. And I think that they can do so. I'm just not I'm not confident in them being able to do so with the way they've been turning over the ball. Also a game I need to dive a little bit more into. And I do need Rudy Gobert in if I'm playing that. So those are my thoughts on that game. We got 2 more to get to real quick. Next game up, we got Bucks and we got Jazz. This might be the most interesting game on the board. I was looking at this and I said, man, the Jazz open as favorites. I know it's the second leg of a back-to-back, and the Bucks had, they had to do a lot to overcome. For anybody who watched the game earlier, Dallas jumped out on them. They went up by like 15 to 20 points in the first quarter. And the Bucks did fight their way back and end up winning the game. I'm not sure if they won by double digits, but what did they win? Yeah, they did win by double digits, 129 to 117 in Dallas tonight. So Brook Lopez did miss the game. He's listed as questionable. I think we also got something that you got to take into consideration. You got to see if Chris Middleton's going to play. A lot of the times he don't play in back-to-back. Sometimes he does. I did look at the numbers. Chris Middleton has actually played in 4 of the 7 back-to-back so far for the Milwaukee Bucks this season. So it's going to be interesting to see if he plays in this one, if he suits up. If he doesn't, man, I think it's going to be a long night for this Milwaukee Bucks team. On the opposite side, Utah has nobody on the injury report. 2 days of rest in this spot. Well, hold on. They got more than 2 days of rest because they played on Thursday, lost outright as a home favorite against the Philadelphia 76ers in the legacy game for Tyrese Maxey. So they had Friday and Saturday Friday and Saturday. So 2 days of rest versus an unrested opponent, especially it being the Bucks and the way that this defense is. I think it's a look to the Jazz. I know the defense hasn't been good. Maybe you look towards the team total to go over. I like the full game over in this spot. That's what I like. I'll tell you guys, just jumping ahead. But looking at the Bucks, they're 32-16 straight up, 11-11 straight up on the road. 9-14 against the spread on the road, and that was after the win tonight. And they're also just 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games. I think today was the first win that Doc Rivers got under his coaching belt with this new team, and he is going to be the all-star coach for the Eastern Conference, which is absolutely crazy to me. On the opposite side, you got Utah, 15-7 at home, 16-6 against the spread at home. They are just 5-5 in their last 10 games, and we didn't know that they really struggled on that road trip came back home. I actually backed them minus the 3.5, got the early number against the Philadelphia 76ers, and they just literally could not stop Tyrese Halliburton. Like, not at all. It was just Tyrese Halliburton. So I'm not sure what, I mean, they're not the greatest defensive team. We know that. So Milwaukee still should be able to come in here and score the ball. It should be a big game for Damian Lillard. But you are traveling into altitude after playing in Dallas tonight. They're probably not going to get in probably to about another hour, about 2:30 a.m. But I will tell you guys this: Milwaukee does pretty good on second leg of back-to-back. So this will be their fourth game of a 5-game road trip. They only got they only have one win so far, which is the one that they got tonight. Well, last night now. Lost to Denver to open the road trip, then went to Portland, and Portland spoiled Dame's return. They're on the second leg of a back-to-back, of course. And this season on second leg of back-to-backs, the Bucks are actually 6-1 straight up, and 4-3 against the spread. If you want the Bucks, you just you can get them at not plus money, but you can take them on the money line plus the one in this spot. Milwaukee has the second rated offense, the second highest rated offense in playing on the second leg of back-to-backs, and the 17th rated defense playing on the second leg of back-to-back games. They're plus 7.6. Now, looking at the Jazz as home favorites, like I said, looking at the Jazz, who lost as home favorites to the 76ers in the Maxey Legacy game, this season on 2 days rest, the Jazz are 2-4 straight up. So I'm not sure, they get more rest and they play worse. They're minus 8.6 point differential in that spot. They rank 13th offensively and 30th defensively. So the more rest they get, the worse their defense is. I'm trying to make it make sense too. Playing unrested opponents, however, for the Utah Jazz, when they're at home, they've been profitable. They've covered two. They won straight up twice, 2-0 with a plus 12.4 point differential. If they're playing at home, specifically in Utah, their opponent is unrested. Head-to-head, they did go into Milwaukee and beat them 132-116 on January 8th as 8-point dogs in that spot. I want to say we was on them in that spot as well. Yeah, we were definitely on them. I didn't think that they were going to win outright, but we did take the Bucks. I think we got them early. I think we took Milwaukee. I think we got a better line than the 8 that it closed at. As far as the total goes, like I said, I was kind of talking to you guys and telling you guys what I was looking at. So over 247, I think is the total 247 still? Yeah, 247. It is going up to 247.5 at some books as well already. Total probably will be up in the morning by the time we wake up. Total in their first game was 242.5. And now you get this one adjusted. That total actually went over as well. I already talked about the Bucks being 6-1 to the over on the second leg of back-to-back games. They're averaging 130 points and they're giving up 123 points. What do we know Utah can do? They can score the ball. What do we know the Bucks can't do? They're not necessarily stopping anybody. They are 3-0 to the under in their last 3 games, but I think the situational spot, especially with them having to travel on altitude, especially with them having to use so much energy on the offensive end to come back in the game yesterday, well, I guess we could say last night now, I do think that this is an over game. I like the over in this spot. Bucks 6-1 to the over when they're unrested. Utah, last rated defensive team playing on two days rest. I just told you guys that. Bucks 4th in pace over the last 5 games. Utah 4th worst defensive team, and they're the 7th best offensive team over the last 5 games. So all of those things to me kind of align to points. I think that this one could, get to 255, maybe 130-125, something like that. I don't care who wins. I think I just like the over. Did I play it yet? No, I did not. But I think that's the way I'm looking in this game, especially with Utah being at home. I don't care how rested they are. I don't see them being able to slow this Bucks offense down. If the Bucks can do anything, it's score. But I'm not looking for the Bucks to play defense in this game, especially on the second leg of a back-to-back. So over will be the only way I would look in this game. I'm definitely not laying a point with the Jazz, especially the way they burned me against the Philadelphia 76ers. Like I said, the Bucks are 6-1 on the second leg of back-to-back. So I don't want to play the Bucks. Definitely don't want to play the Bucks, but I also don't want to play Utah in this spot either. So I'll look towards the total in that game. Last game up, and I didn't even know I've been on here for 45 minutes. Do me a favor if you guys join late. Hit the like button for me. If this video does well, I'll continue to do these night shows for you guys. I know I didn't know this many people be up at night, but yeah, you guys want night shows? I'll continue to do night shows. Portland will be last game up. Portland will be in Denver again. So this is the back of one of those little back-to-back series. The difference is in this one, this line actually opened a little bit higher than the last line. That last line, I think, opened at 10.5, and I want to say it closed at 12. Portland did not cover. Now Denver actually opens as a 13-point favorite, and the reason why is because Jeremy Grant is listed as questionable with a back injury. KCP, I think he had like something happened to his thumb. Peyton Watson, both of those guys were on the injury report, but both of them look like they are going to be able to give it a go here. Portland been a sneaky team, man. They're one of those teams that's kind of difficult to figure out. While they are only 6-21 on the road this season, they're 13-14 against the spread on the road, and 7-3 in their last 10 games. They covered like a couple spreads in a row, and they covered in their last game in Denver as well. Now that I think about it, on Friday, we know that they just spoiled Damian Lillard's return. They had an outright win against Philly the other day as well. So this team has actually been playing, a little bit better basketball when they're, healthy. They got Aiden in there. They had Jeremy Grant in there. Scoot Henderson been playing a little bit better off the bench. Anthony Simons, making some outside shots, and they're rebounding the ball. They're one of the better rebounding, specifically offensive rebounding teams in the league, especially when you got Aiden out there. Reef's a pretty good rebounder. Looking at Denver, they're 20-4 straight up at home. However, they're a 50-50 team when you're looking at them to cover the spread, especially these big numbers. Not something that I'm interested in laying. We just saw them not cover on Friday. Now, the status of Jeremy Grant is going to be really big in this game because he is their leading point scorer. I want to say he averages more than Anthony Simons at this point, and he shoots a better field goal percentage, as he should, because they pay him more than they pay Anthony Simons as well. But that's another story. Denver, 3-6 against the spread in their last 10 games. So, like I said, kind of goes back to the Boston thing. The upper echelon teams they're winning the games most of the time anyway. Boston didn't win against the Lakers. They're winning the games, but they're not covering these big spreads. Just 3-6-1 against the spread in their last 10. I think Boston is 3-7 in their last 10 against the spread as well because they're laying these big numbers. Portland is playing on one day. Well, both of these teams are playing on one day's rest. Portland is 1-4 straight up. They're a minus 31.5 point differential playing on one day's rest. Absolute worst in the league. They rank last offensively and defensively in efficiency in that spot. And I do think that some of that was because they weren't fully healthy throughout the season. Now, looking at Denver's playing on one day's rest. They're 3-2 straight up with a plus 7.8 in point differential playing on one day's rest. They rank fourth as the fourth best offense and the 22nd rated defense in this spot. Kind of interesting that Denver's defense is 22nd playing on one day's rest. I wouldn't have guessed that. Head to head, I kind of just talked about it. The Denver didn't cover that 14. They closed at 14. They end up winning the game by 12. This one really depended upon Jeremy Grant, in my opinion. I don't think Denver has a reason to want to come out here and really punish these guys. They just beat them by double digits. But if Jeremy Grant plays, I think Portland can cover again. I really do. And I'm not looking at the total because Denver does that thing where they play really good defense for one quarter, then the defense kind of slips up the next quarter. So I'm not looking at the total in this game, but maybe if Jeremy Grant plays, their team total will be extremely low, and maybe you look towards their team total to go over. I know it went over in the last game, 220.5. You're looking at 110, subtract 6.5, 104.5 is probably Blazers team total. They should be able to score 105 points. I do think that if Jeremy Grant plays, I'm not touching it if Jeremy Grant doesn't play because they could lose this game by 40 if Jeremy Grant doesn't play. So those are my thoughts, man. Really tough card. I think even with it being so many games, it's a really tough card. If I'm playing, just real quick on top looks, and I'll let you guys know what I did play. If I'm playing my Magic and Pistons, I don't really want to talk about that game because I do want to do a little bit more deep diving into that one. Suns and Wizards, I do like Suns early. I think Suns first quarter team total over, Suns first half team total over. I look for them to score 50, maybe 40 points in the first quarter, at least 35, maybe even 60 before the first half, 59, something like that. They should be able to score at will against the Wizards defense, especially without no Marvin Bagley. That's going to limit their ability to rebound the basketball. Pacers and Hornets, like I said, 4 guys on the injury report for the Pacers. Even though LaMelo Ball has been rolled out already. Clippers and Heat, I do kind of lean towards the Clippers being able to cover the 3.5, but that's a game that I'm gonna stay off of. Grizzlies and Celtics, this is a big number. I don't lay 16s, but I do think that the Celtics win this game by 20 plus points. I think this is a blowout, especially without no Jared Jackson Jr., especially the way the Celtics went out in that last game. I'll be looking towards the Celtics in the first quarter and first half. And the Grizzlies, I talked about it. Their team total under. I don't think they score 100 points in this game. I think their team total is like 103. This to me feels like a 115 to 84 type game. I do think that they get the Grizzlies out the way in this spot and don't play around with their food in this one. Raptors and Thunder, nothing. Rockets and Timberwolves, nothing for me. Got to know the status of Rudy Gobert, who's listed as questionable with that ankle injury. Bucks and Jazz, I really like the over. Really like the over at 247. Blazers and Nuggets, nothing for me either. Going back to that Wizards and Suns game, I did play the full game under. I think I got it at 241 on Caesars Sportsbook, and I did play the Wizards team total. I don't see the Wizards scoring 116 points without Kyle Kuzma and Tyus Jones potentially being listed as questionable. Suns, like I said, 8-2 to the under. Wizards 8-2 to the under in their last 10. So that's my favorite spot. My favorite spot and the only thing that I played so far. Do me a favor, like I said, if you guys are watching this video late, watching it in the morning, hit the like button for me if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Turn the notification bell on. 52 minutes in the books. Best of luck to you guys on Sunday. And again, I'll say this one more time. If you're looking for the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show, I will not be live on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, potentially Friday, but I'm not going to be able to do evening shows. So I will try to bring you guys cap the games early and do these late night shows. Early bird edition, but I will not be doing shows for all my plays. Like I said, hit the link in the description. We are profitable on the season. I think I'm up 23, 24 units right now. I got to update my tracker. No, more than that. I'm probably close to the 30 units now. But yeah, we are positive on the season. So if you want my plays, it's $5.99 a month. Will get you access to all my plays when I do make them. Best of luck to you guys for all the plays that you have on Sunday. And I'll probably catch you guys tomorrow breaking down the Monday's card. I'm out.